transcribe thing. There we go. All right, we'll just pick it up in the middle. Okay. Um, then so right now, so it's if it stays in the legacy portal for the 26-27 school year, you would need a new activation code to get to the staff reporting. Um, Due dates, there's a statutory deadline of September 15th where it has to have the information. That's what the state statutory says. And then we have the fall deadline that October 15th, and the audit window closes on October 31st. So what happens is after October 31st, that's when NDE and other like all the NDE departments start pulling the data out of staff reporting and start using it for other things. But the collection does stay open all throughout the school year. So if you have people that leave in the middle of the school year, you can go in there and you can make the necessary changes, put the end date in. Maybe you found out from one of the departments so you got a wrong position assignment code. You can go in there and change that. So you can just update those things throughout the school year. So the final deadline is June 15th. And then we have the audit window that closes on June 30th. And then after June 30th, you can't do anything with the 25-26 staff reporting. So then after that, if you want changes made, it would have to go through a late request. So this is that was my small introduction. I just wanted to give timelines to introduce it to. And this is where we can jump into questions or conversation. And of course, if we don't have very many questions, I have a presentation put together. But we did receive, let me jump out of this, a couple questions via ticket prior to today. And they were asked if we would discuss that. So we're going to start with these questions. And if you have further questions, you can put the questions in chat. You can say that you just have a question and you want to ask it right away. You can do that. I do see the staff reporting opens 9/1, correct? No, usually the staff reporting opens up August. Right, Kim? I'm looking at Kim.
That's what I was thinking. I was going to look and see if we have anything that has a concrete date on it here.
I don't think we have anything with a
I
concrete
don't think
date.
we
It
do
all
either.
depends on when the programmers get it all moved over. The goal is usually to have it ready by the 1st of August usually. So we don't have like a concrete date on when to say it. I just watch it. Watch for the bulletin.
Yeah, that's the wording I should have used. The calendar for 25-26 stated that it should open around August 1st is what the plan was for the 25-26 school year. So start looking for it around then. And there will be a bulletin coming out to let you know.
Yes. Okay, great question. I'm glad you asked that. So this question that we received, I think, is it big enough, Kim, that you can read?
I can read it. Can
Perfect.
Other folks?
Well, you're my
second set of eyes. Okay.
Yes, you're my second set of eyes. Okay. So the question we received was they would like to know more about the proper calculation for figuring out FTE for sub-paras. And then she kind of goes into how she found it on the Nebraska Department of Revenue, and then gives us that formula, the calculation formula. And then she asked if it's correct and if there's another formula that should be used. So the first thing I wanted to address in this question was the sub-para. There is no position assignment in staff reporting for a sub-para. So that language doesn't exist for staff reporting in position assignment. So if you would go to, I'm just going to make this smaller and this smaller. Here it is. I'm going to flip around today. Sorry, I just want to show you guys visually where all the stuff is. So if you go into the staff reporting and document and look for a position assignment for a sub-para, you're not going to find it in the 25-26 school year. So that does not exist. I coming from a district, I understand what you're saying because it's somebody that's a regular para. She's called in sick and you've called a sub and asked for them to come in, right? So then in the district office, we use that terminology as sub para. But when you put that person into staff reporting for to be able to get reimbursement for spedfers and things like that, there's not going to be a sub para physician assignment. A para is a para is a para is the phrase that we use here in the office. So you would put them in as a para, which is the 5160. So even though they're just your substitute para that you're calling them at the district office, you're still going to put them in your staff or just yeah district office. You're still going to put them in your staff reporting as a para for NDE. And so the next thing I wanted to address in the question was the FTE. So I just went straight to the FTE in the staff reporting. So this is the staff reporting guide for 25-26. I'm just going to drop it at the link in the chat here in case anybody wants to look it up and follow along. It's on page 24 and it states that it's just the FTE is an indication of the time the staff member spends in their assignment and that the total is reported as 100. So full time is 100. And you're not supposed to be able to go over that. So you will get an error actually if you go over an FTE of 100. And then it states that the field should be left blank if it's for substitute teachers or for activities or athletic coaches. So I kind of wanted to review that. So in her question, she's asking us, like, how do we calculate this? Well, it's just like a percentage of time. So this is, there's not a formula that we're going to hand out to you, I guess is the best way to say it. It's you deciding with your administration, what is the percentage of time that they are in building A, building B, building C. So some paras, some teachers, some staff members, will have several position assignment codes because they're in so many buildings. And so they have, small, maybe they'll have like a 5 FTE here and a 10 FTE here and a 7 FTE here. That is okay. You can have several of them to dispel because we want to know the story of that para, where she's at and where she's spending her time. So the calculation, I'm not going to give you a calculation. I'm going to tell you it's a percentage of her time. It needs to, the total percentage when you get done adding all these lines is going to be 100. Is there any questions on that first question before I move to the second question that she had? And Kim, do you have anything to add?
If you're going to want reimbursement for those, if they're working with special education, remember it's a 5162 and don't forget to put your SPI code before it also. Don't leave it in
Right,
0-5162. You'll need an
right.
S or an F or whatever SPI code you need to use that indicates what they're doing.
And since you talked about SPED first, the other thing I wanted to make sure that we said today is that if you are going to the data conference in April, there's going to be 2 sessions. I wrote them down, 2 sessions about SPEDFers and staff reporting. And they're going to be one on Tuesday afternoon and then one on Wednesday morning. So there's the same session. It's just going to be offered twice. So if you're going to the data conference in April, which is in April, we are in April now, April 28th, at the end of the month, you can go to that and they're going to have more guidance with the SPEDFers and position assignment codes and things like that. Okay, so I do see a question. What is the FTE for each building code for the subpara? So that is so again, you're going to have to talk to your administration and decide what is the percentage to reflect their story. So you are going to have to work with your administration on deciding what that percentage is.
And
We don't,
remember, you don't have to have that percentage decided though when you first begin your staff reporting for the year. If you decide at the end of the school year that, hey, Jane worked way more hours than we thought she was going to, you could increase that FTE before June 15th with an
Right.
audit window of June 30th, actually. So,
Yes. Right. Great point, Kim. Yeah, because you can go back and adjust that. Okay.
okay.
Got another question. If we can't attend the data conference, will there be handouts for those sessions that we could request to be emailed to us or have someone pick up for us? They, the best I can say is I would check the ND data conference website afterwards and see if there's any videos posted or handouts posted to the session. And if you, I would give it, let's see, the middle of a couple weeks after, maybe a week after the conference. Give us at least a week to get all that updated. Um, and then if you don't see anything, then submit a ticket to NDA Service Desk, and we will see if we can track down some information for you. Um, okay, I'm trying to catch up with the
You,
questions here. Do all the percents for a person have to add 100 or can they be 25 if they only sub that much or could they be 100 because that was their full time? That's a good question. So the FTE, so let's go back to the definition. So the FTE is an indication of a time member spends in their assignment as it relates to the total time in the work week defined for that assignment. So what is the assignment? So if they're a para and you have defined that the para works 5 days a week for a full day, well, I don't know, let's just guess 8 to 4. I'm just throwing out a time there. And you've hired this person and they're only going to fill this position 3 days a week. Well, then they're not a full-time person. They're not 100 FTE because that position assignment is a full-time person. So they'd be a partial. So then they would just be 0.75 or 75%. They're only there 75%. So it all depends on that position assignment code, what that is defined as their time, what the 100 FTE for that looks like. And then you would go from there. So not every person will have 100 because if I only work 2 days a week, I'm not going to have 100 because if the para position is actually a full-time position, I'm just doing it for just a little bit. Right, Kim?
yeah. In other words, remember a para is a para is a
A
para.
para,
And if
right.
you decide that your normal full-time paras are 100 and this person you decide hasn't worked a full-time or 100% position, it's like
Mm-hmm.
if you hire a part-time para, there
Mm-hmm.
would be maybe 50% or maybe 25% or maybe 33%, whatever you decide they worked as an FTE. That's why in my brain as a data steward, I probably would have put something in at the beginning of the year for the FTE and then gone back over my records at the end of the year when I was finishing up my reporting and decided what amount they really did work. Does that make sense?
Sure. So my question for you, Kim, is I sat down with HR, my
That's
HR
what I did
person,
too.
and made sure that these FTEs were right, and that the position assignment codes were right. And actually, I guess I mean, I sent her a spreadsheet. I exported it out, gave it to her, then we sat down and reviewed it. Does that sound like something you did, Kim?
That's basically what we did. The HR
Yeah.
person and I always worked together at the end of the year to make sure that we had reported as accurate as possible what we
Right.
wanted to, the story we wanted to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, okay. So, um, Kim, I'm gonna
Did you
let you
see
read the
the end of
comment.
that? Did you see the end of that question? Um, Jennifer asked for a sub-para. We would then figure out the percentage they worked based on FTE para hours, is her question. And then she asked, but if it is a sub-teacher, you can leave the FTE blank, right?
She is,
And you are
she,
correct.
yep, yep, yep. That is correct. Yep.
It goes back to that assignment code. A para is a para is a para, whereas a
Yeah.
substitute teacher is coded as a substitute teacher with the 5190.
But I mean, things get kind of foggy with that because let's answer this question before I go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Okay. You know what rabbit hole I'm going to jump down, right, Kim?
it's in the
Okay.
back of my mind since the first question.
Okay. All right. Well, let's finish these questions and then let's jump down that rabbit hole because I'm pretty sure there's going to be questions for it. So let's just jump down there. Um, okay, I'm going to answer Kim, you got the chat.
Mhm.
So I'm apologize, guys. I'm like get distracted with it. So I'm going to have Kim focus on it. And she'll tell me what we need. So the second part of this question is FTE. So a para or a teacher has an FTE that may be more than 100 FTE. No, it cannot be over 100 FTE. So the total should equal 100, should not go over. You'll get an error. Um, then she has, well, what about a para leaving the district and then being rehired? Okay, so if a para is leaving or a person, it doesn't even matter if it's a para person leaving, maybe they're changing role assignments in the middle of the school year. You're going to make sure you go back into the staff reporting and you're going to put end dates. So just like you would for a student, this student left the district or this student has transferred grades or whatever, you're going to go in there and you're going to put, I'm going to say Kim Powell. I'm going to use my friend Kim Powell. And she is a teacher here. She started in August 13th and she left at the end of the semester. So I'm going to put in August 13th, 2025. And then she left 12/31 of 2025. But you know what? Kim changed her mind. It's so great working with Stacy. She decides to come back in February. So then I put her back in I give her a whole new enrollment. So she has this one for the first semester, and then I give her a new one, and it could be the same position assignment code as a teacher, or it could be that she came back as a counselor this time. She finished her degree. Um, and I would put in that she came in February and that she is staying till the end of June of 2026. So she would have two enrollments or enrollments, but two position assignment records, and she would the story would be told that she was there for a little while, she left, and then she came back because we have those end dates that would reflect that story. So you can do that for staff members that are leaving in the middle of this, have left the district before the end of the school year. You can do that for change of role assignments. Um, those are the two scenarios I can think of right now. But that's how you would handle that. So they would never have an FTE over 100.
We
And then
did
the other
have,
one, go ahead.
sorry. Are you
Nope.
ready for a question?
Is it about this?
Yeah,
Yes?
it's about that old FTE stuff.
Okay,
Um,
bring it on.
so they would like to know if it's a sub or a para sub, should that um para sub ever have an FTE of 100? If they're a substitute para. But what if they're a substitute para? This is me throwing this spin in here as a way of thinking about it. If
Hmm.
it's a substitute para, but they end up, even though you didn't plan on them being a para that year, remember
Hmm.
paras are not contracted like teachers.
Hmm.
And so if it's a para and somebody ends up having a medical issue, or you have a couple people who have medical issues, and you keep calling this para in to where they've worked the whole year for you, the same amount of days as your other paras.
That would be a full-time parent.
In my mind, that para worked to the 100%.
Right, right. I honestly and this is just me thinking, but if I was doing this, um, and I had my sub paras and I'm reporting them in my staff reporting, I would put them probably at a 50% and then at the end of the year go through and adjust them. It's one way to think about it.
Because
Um,
remember, there's no substitute para code. And
right,
so,
there's no sub para. So that's what I would do. And then I would sit down and talk, especially if you're doing this for sped first, then I would like print this out and then I would go find my special education um, director and then my HR director, and then I would go through and have them verify that this information is correct, and have as many eyes on that document as you could to make sure that it's accurate.
and if they are covering both regular para and substitute para, you'll probably want to keep those hours separate
Mm-hmm.
because they would have two different position assignment codes.
Yeah, I would think so. These are great questions to ask at the conference, though, with
Because they'll have
Camellia
the
and
experts
Naomi.
there.
Yeah, because they'll have experts. You're just getting the two worker bees just having a chit chat conversation here. Um, okay, so then the second or the 2A here is got another teacher subbing for another teacher in the same subject. Um, so that brings up multiple questions in my head. One of them is it's very common. I did it all the time because I had to get subs for our district. So this teacher has an open plan period, and this person's leaving for a few hours, so we throw that person in there, right? Um, to cover the class. So is the teacher getting paid to be a sub, or is it just expected for them and their contract that that's just another thing that they do? Um, are you reporting them as a teacher, like a substitute teacher? Because if they're getting paid for it, that kind of should be reported as a substitute teacher. So then they would have a 0 FTE, and then you would just put in the days that they worked for that. And their regular classroom time would be their what they're contracted for. So that, in my mind, that would be 100 FTE in my mind. Um, Kim, what are your thoughts on that question?
Sorry, I was reading the next question.
Oh, sorry. Was there another one?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Sorry, didn't mean to sorry about that.
Lost my focus. I apologize.
No, that's all right. We're
Because
bouncing all
we've
over
had
here
a
today.
bunch of questions come in.
Okay.
Um, so one of them is, I'm hoping I'm not missing one of them. Just a minute here. Okay, the first one is, what if a para subs as a teacher? Does that mean they have two position codes and then two different FTEs?
Okay, let's jump down the rabbit hole, Kim. I'm going to bring up the presentation.
Yep.
That was a great question. And the rabbit hole we want Kim and I were talking about jumping down. Um, where did my presentation go? It's hiding here. Well, let's pull this one up. I have this one as backup. It's probably hiding behind my thing. Okay, so in the presentation, which is posted on our Brewing website, in the additional section, you are going to find um, a slide in the presentation, and it says in this PDF, it's slide number 16. It talks about staff reporting. And so we have right here substitutes for paras reported as a para. So but to make things a little bit more complicated, they have created a special certificate for paras that they can get, and they can be a substitute for a certified teacher. So this special certificate allows them to go into a classroom and sub for a teacher for X amount of days. I should have put the link to this. Can you want to find the link to this special
Yeah,
certificate
let me
off
go
of
out and because
the
there
web?
was a bulletin that went out about it, I was thinking. So
Okay. So can you put that in the chat?
yeah,
Um,
gotta find it.
that it will give you all the details. It says the specific amount of days that they can sub for a certified teacher. They can only do it in their district. The certificate's only good for their district. And so when this para has this special certificate, then yes, you are going to have two position assignments for them. You're going to have them as a para because they are a para is a para is a para. And then you're going to say, oh, but they're also a para substitute, which is confusing. Um, and so then they're going to be reported as a substitute teacher at that point. And when you look for this, we have found that they might have a duplicate NDE staff ID. So if you find that the certificate has a different ID number on it than what you're reporting for a para, then you need to submit a ticket to NDE service desk because that means that they have a duplicate ID. And so we need to resolve that issue. And then they need to be reported as a substitute, and their days worked will need to be added by June 30th. So, Kim, did you find that link for on
I
the
found the
certification?
link to the site, the educator certification
Yes.
site. I am not seeing a bullet. I've seen a bulletin that's not ready to go out yet, is all I've
Okay.
found for that so far.
Can you just drop the link to,
Yep, it's
there it
right
is.
there.
Perfect. So I'm going to pull that up. Okay. So here is all the information. It's called a paraprofessional substitute teaching permit. It talks about who can apply, where it's valid. So they can do no more than 45 full-time days, and no more than 5 of those days may be consecutive. Oh, I didn't know that part. Okay, look at that. I learned that. And it's good for 5 years. Um, and here's what they have to do. So we have more and more schools utilizing this um, teaching permit, the substitute teaching permit, and getting paras. So this is, again, I want to just reinstate, this is a para substituting for a certified teacher. Okay. Somebody's getting to the nitty gritty of SPI codes. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of SPI codes. I'm going to refer you to GMS, going to the data conference, and or submitting a ticket, and we will get into the nitty gritty of the SPI codes because I'm not the expert in that. I'm going to be just quite
Yeah.
honest, and I don't know if Kim feels like she's an expert in that either. So I'm going to refer you to that. And so if you really want us to get into the nitty gritty of SPI codes, please submit us a ticket and we will get you an answer through that way.
An SPI code and the SPI is the letter that is in
Oh,
front of, like the 5190, like your federal
S.
funds, your special education, your early childhood, that type of stuff, your sevens, your I's, your S's, etc. That's the SPI code. The
Mhm.
other is their position assignment code. I know you have to put them both in because that indicates what funds are being paid out of
Mhm.
and qualifies them for reimbursement, that type of thing.
Oh man.
We did
This
miss a question for,
did we? Okay.
uh-huh, and it may be one that we have to table and get a bigger answer
Answer.
for. I've
Okay.
got to go back to it. Shoot, let me find it. Sorry.
I was going to show an
Oh,
example of SPI code while you were looking for that.
if we
Where's
have
the
a couple para subs that are just paid out of regular education general funds, And we are not worried about SPEDFers or federal reimbursement. Do they need to be in staff reporting? One of the things I would think about, and this is just me off the top of my head, this is not a regulation, but another thing to always keep in the back of your mind is that anybody that you are putting in your staff reports, their education or their experience goes out to the education directory. And also, if they apply for a teaching certificate or a substitute certificate, that system looks back to see if they had any experience reported in staff reporting. And so if you're not reporting them, you're cheating them out of experience if they decide they want to get a substitute, for example, that para substitute
I would
certificate.
say yeah, that's a great example because that's how they're getting their certificates. They're going back through NDE looking for their NDE staff ID, looking for the experience that they are paras. Yeah, great point. Good
And
job,
if you
Kim.
would like, we can bring it to the greater group. We can create a ticket for you and ask if it's okay to not report them at all. But like I say, this is something I would have in the back of my mind is that if, think about this person may need that experience kept track of someplace besides just your HR system.
And personally, I like to tell our whole story.
Yeah,
Like
too.
I like to tell, I mean, I didn't report our custodians or like that, but if they're a para and they're in the classroom, I want to report our whole story of who's all in working with our kids. So that was my theory was I wanted to tell our story. Um, okay. So again, these are going to be some good follow-up things that if make sure you put your email on our little survey so that we can send out some follow-up messages if we, when we look into some of this stuff because if one person has a question, I'm sure it's everybody else is thinking the same thing. At least I would be thinking. All right, there it is. I knew it had. Okay, do we have any other questions that we missed or where are we at here?
That's the last question I see. I apologize. This is a private
Okay.
question that I am answering.
Sure.
So,
No problem. I just want to make sure that we were uh
Are we only able to ask questions about staff or can we ask other questions about reporting?
we're just focused on staff reporting
Okay,
today.
got it. Okay.
But if you have other questions about reporting, you can submit a ticket or if it's something that you would like to talk about in the future that we haven't covered, please let us know and we'll have a topic about it.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, Kim says there's no other question in the chat
no.
right now about staff reporting. So we're just gonna kind of go through the presentation here a little bit, and if you get questions, please stop us, and we'll answer it. One of the things that is helpful for Kim and I is why are we even like submitting this information? Like we were sitting at the district office and we have to submit this, and maybe your reason is because you're told to do it. But some other people need to know exactly what this is going to be. Uh, so staff reporting data is actually used for a lot of variety of things. And one of the number one things that we use it for is the NDE Education Directory, which is published. So that's why it needs to be done by October 31st because they start pulling all that data and starts publishing it on this website in early November. And this website, if you haven't been there, please click on it, go out to it, because it's how do I want to say? Um, it's how other people find your contact information. So an example would be is somebody has a scholarship for seniors. Um, I can't think of an organization right now. let's say Boy Scouts. That's the only one that's coming to my mind right now. But let's say Boy Scouts has a scholarship for the seniors, and they want to send it to all the schools in the state of Nebraska. So how do they get this information? They go to the NDE Education Directory, and they're able to search by all these fields that we have here. Um, and they can do it in a variety of ways, and they get your information, and that's how they get the contact, and that's how they send you guys this information. So that's a number one way that I can think of. Or we get tickets of people asking for school contact information, so because we want a scholarship, or we want to tell them about this event, or we want to tell them about this library thing, or just a wide variety of things like that. We send them to this website. So you want to make sure that this website is up to date and has information. The other thing I want to say is that it takes the email address, and I've been on there and seen personal emails. So make sure that when you put in staff reporting, you're putting in the school email, not their personal email. Um, so that is the number one thing. The other thing is that if they put teach in like a multiple subjects, I would say that when you put in the demographic section, like what subject does that person, that teacher want information about? So maybe they're science and social studies teacher because you're a small district. Select one of them because that's the main subject that's going to show in the NDE education directory. So when these vendors or third parties go out and look for the information, they can gather that information. So if you only want data, if you only want information about science, then put science as what they want. Um, and again, I just said this, school contact information should be your email address. Another way that this information is reported is it's extracted out for the counselor and library and media specialist that's not endorsed. And so it's just taken out, and it reflects the staff who are not currently endorsed in that area, but working towards an endorsement. It was launched into the new portal this fall, and it is just a snapshot in time. So I've had a couple tickets where the person's already, they filled out that, I think the application's closed. Yes, Kim, right? This application's closed. Counselor?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
this is closed. But it's still showing that they got their library media, like they're endorsed, they got their certificate, but they're still listed in this application. It's just a snapshot in time. It's not synced on a regular basis. So it's whenever they extract that data, put it in there. And if they got endorsed after the application's closed, 26, 27, they'll probably drop out of this application. You won't see them listed anymore.
Okay. Can they put multiple subjects in for a teacher in their demographics and split it out by FTE so that they get info on all the subjects they teach?
No. So if you remember the staff in the, I don't have an example. Maybe let's look in the
The staff demographics area.
demographics. Yep, let's look in the, what is that thing called, Kim? The guide. Let's look in the
Oh, the
guide.
staff reporting manual?
Yeah, let's look in there. And it's probably got a screenshot. So we can, here we go. Staff demographics. Does it got a screenshot? No, she does not. Okay. So staff,
It does way down deep maybe, but you'd really have to dig.
okay. So it only has an option for one subject. It's called staff demographic, high school diploma, parish and contract date. I'm talking out loud. Sorry, I apologize if that annoys anybody. That's talking about
Primary
schools.
subject area.
Oh, there it is. Yes, this is the field that it pulls from. So right here, you only have the option of, you just have to select one. So I just say, what I have done in the past is I went to my teacher and said, okay, you are teaching this and this, and it falls in world language and health science. Which do you want information about? You tell me, I'll put it in there, and then that's what will be published on the NDE. Good question. This is making me really think. Okay. So that's the anything else, Kim, before I jump into SPED first? Not going to say a whole lot about it, but
I was just putting an answer in for everybody about emails. They were asking what you would put if your school does not, because some schools don't set up emails for paraeducators.
oh,
And
you could just
according to
leave
the
it
staff
blank.
reporting manual, it is optional to report the email address for anyone that does not have a contract indicator code of 1. And so like your paraeducators and folks like that, it is not
Just leave them.
required to have that reported.
Right,
Usually your ones are like your counselors and your administrators and your teachers, those kind of people. The people you have a contract with,
right,
not an at will.
right. Good question. Those are great questions. Okay. Um, so I'm going to jump into SPED first then, Kim. Okay, so Spedfers is another place that reports the data. I'm going to refer you back to our coffee hour that we had last quarter for more specific information about Spedfers. I'm also going to refer you to the NDE data conference for more information about that. You're going to be talking with the experts. I'm going to be honest, I'm learning so much about staff reporting and SPEDBIRDs, working with NDE on this side. So I am far from an expert, but we do know that it's a verification. It does a statutory requirement, the regulatory requirement, looking like that. It's getting program staff. You got your grant management staff working on it too. So it's very important to make sure that you have your staff reporting correctly. And I can be honest that they're going to start cracking down on late requests. So you want to make sure that you have, and when I say cracking down, I mean like you're going to have to really prove your, like, they're not going to be as easy to be approved anymore. Um, so you really want to make sure that you have your staff reporting accurate before June 30th. So then we have a variety of internal uses that we use this for. So we got this is how your teachers, your paras, how their experience is all being recorded, and it's synced back to different systems in NDE. Then we have like data requests, including the salary reports. We just did a recent audit of salaries that were being reported in the 25-26. We sent out several emails for people to review that because we didn't feel that the information was accurate, and so we wanted them to review it. So make sure that that is reported accurately. It's very easy to type in 2 zeros when there should have been 1 zero, or fat fingering it, or even when you're creating your spreadsheets. It's used for different types of funding, state aid, SPED, um, NEP, what is the right name? Nebraska Education
Education
Profile.
profile.
Yep, I was getting it. I was getting it. NEP and Nebraska Education Profile. So that will tell you on the website that's public to all the districts, and it shows all your district information. So that is also used in that. Where are we at in time? Okay, 11:49. So some other things that
Do
we
you
wanted to
want to
talk.
move on or do you want a question? You just
Sure,
tell me.
you tell me. No,
Okay.
we want to answer questions because we're in here to
Okay.
answer questions. I'm just giving information.
if they have a para sub who subs for teachers and they already have a local sub certificate, is it okay if they have an assignment of 5190, which is a substitute code?
Right, right. So there are some, so that's a good point because we do have some paras that have this paraprofessional substitute teacher. And then we have some paras who are substitute teaching certificates. So it doesn't matter which certificate they have, but they need a physician assignment code of substitute teacher. And the days worked have to be reported for both those certificates. Good question. Yep.
So in other words, that 5190 is fine, regardless of the type of substitute certificate they have, because
Yep.
there is only one code, one position assignment code available for substitutes.
Yep. Yep. For the 25-26 school year.
Yeah,
I want to make
unless
sure
something
that
changes.
unless something changes, but we're going to say for right now, for the 25-26 school year, there's only the one substitute teacher code, and that's what you would use.
Can I ask a question? Because I don't
Sure.
think I'm putting them in the chat, but they're not coming through. So we hire subs specifically to sub for paras only. So when you say a para is a para is a para, is a sub a sub a sub? Or we're putting them as a para code and putting FTE as 0?
So, yeah, I know this is rabbit hole is just very confusing. So if you have a sub para and how do I want to say this? I'm
In
getting
other
myself
words,
confused.
in other words, do not report somebody as a substitute if they don't have a substitute certificate of some kind. Is
There you
that
go.
what you're asking, basically, Dana?
Well, so there is no code for a sub para.
Right.
Right.
I know a lot of school districts have paras that sub for a sped para, but we
Right.
have substitutes that are just subs. They're not regular employees, they're just subs that work
Right.
randomly just for paras.
Do those subs that are randomly or those people that you have hired to just sub for paras have a substitute certificate?
No.
Okay, then they're a para.
And
You
they're
have to
only subbing for a para. So
Yep. They have
Okay,
then
and
you
then
report them as a para. A para is a
okay,
para is a para.
so we've never reported them before. So how do we do the days? Is it by because they clock in? Is it by the total hours they
You
work
won't
divided
you
by
won't
7.5?
report days worked for them
We
because
don't.
they're a para. So para position assignments don't have days worked reported.
But okay, so the difference between a regular para and a sub para would just be the FTE.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Thank
know
you.
it's very complicated and confusing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we've got like 6 or 7 minutes left here. Do we have any other questions that we should address before I move on?
If you want to answer this one, with paras, when adding their additional assignment code, we will put the FTE at 0 for the 5190 or substitute code position. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. Yes.
And
That
that's
is
that's the substitute that is subbing for a teacher, not for a para educator.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So I would like to highlight the new warnings before we get off the call. So, what, like the end of middle of March or something, we sent out a bulletin and there is some new SSRS validation warnings. And so I want to highlight those. So we had a warning of number 594, and that's just stating the certificate expires less than 6 months. So it's looking at the physician assignment code, it's looking at their certificate, and it's giving you a 6-month notice that their certificate is going to expire in 6 months. And if you have questions, we do recommend that you to reach out to the CERT team so that they can help you with that process. And then we have Error 595, which is Rule 18 or special purpose staff, missing email addresses. So that's very specific to Rule 18 or special purpose, and they're missing valid email addresses. And there's that list of physician assignment codes that error is looking at. The next one is the last name reported in staff reporting. So what is happening is staff reporting and NDE staff ID are looking at each other. And if the staff reporting name and the NDE staff ID main information is not the same, it's giving you a warning saying that this might not be the same person because they don't have the same names. So we are finding that it could be because of a duplicate ID. It could be because the person got married and we just need to go in there and update the NDE staff ID to match what is being reported in staff reporting. So we recommend that you have NDE staff ID with the most current name for the staff member, and also to search and make sure there's not a duplicate ID out there. And if you find a duplicate ID, to please submit a ticket with our service desk so that you can start a review process and we can just get, because each person should only have one ID. So I want to highlight that. And then the next thing I wanted to highlight is maximum days work for a paraprofessional as a substitute teacher. This goes along with that new certificate that we were just talking about. So if they go over the limit, you're going to get an error with that. Okay, that's 11:57. And if you have additional questions, please email them to us, or, oh, we got a question about a staff certificate on their teaching certificate. So if the name on the teaching certificate does not match up, our system, the two systems aren't looking at the teach account or the certificate. They're just looking at staff reporting and NDE. It is the staff member's responsibility to change their certificate name. And it's a very simple process. They just need to contact Teach. And I don't believe it costs them anything. And so they just have to fill out a piece of paperwork, do some paperwork is my understanding. So please just have them contact the CERT department with that website or email address, not the website. It's 11:58 and we are looking for ideas for next year. We have the dates on the website and we're looking for ideas of what you guys would like for topic ideas. I thought I saw one come through actually on chat, but
I
I can't.
sent it to just you, Stacy, so it didn't go to the whole chat.
Okay, thank you. I'll go make sure I grab it. But we are looking for topic ideas. So if you would like to scan this QR code, or I dropped a link in the chat to fill out our little survey and give us some ideas for next school year, we'd appreciate it because we're going to be busy planning that over the summer. We are so thankful for all of you to join us today. I just love having these little conversations with you guys. I hope they're beneficial. Listening to us chat back and forth, I just enjoy it. But we just appreciate you coming, and we know that it's not easy at the district office, and anything we can do to make it a little bit easier, we are here for you, and you can always send a ticket in, and we do encourage you to come to NDE conference if you're able to, and looking forward to having conversations with you in person. But there goes my timer. I don't have anything else. Kim, do you have anything else? It's 12 o'clock.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Thanks for joining.